Hello and welcome to this week's Connect. Today we will be exploring what Christians mean when we say that Jesus is both fully God and fully human, and why that matters to us. We're going to begin by reading from the Gospel of John, one of the 4 books in the Bible called Gospels, which talk about Jesus' life and teaching. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things came into being through him, and without him not one thing came into being. What has come into being in him was life, and the life was the light of all people. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it. There was a man sent from God whose name was John. He came as a witness to testify to the light, so that all might believe through him. He himself was not the light, but he came to testify to the light. The true light, which enlightens everyone, was coming into the world. He was in the world, and the world came to being through him, yet the world did not know him. He came to what was his own, and his own people did not accept him. But to all who received him, who believed in his name, he gave power to become children of God, who were born not of blood, or of the will of the flesh, or of the will of man, but of God. And the Word became flesh, and dwelt among us, and we have seen his glory, the glory as of a Father's only Son, full of truth and grace. This is my dad. And this is me. My dad married my mum in the early 1990s and became a husband. Being a husband isn't something that he does. It is rather a fundamental part of his identity and who he is. In the same way that he is fully a human, he was also from that day and is now also fully a husband. And on the 7th of May, 1998, I was born. And from the moment of my conception, he became a father. My dad became fully a father, just as he remained fully a husband. His fatherhood and his marriage are not at the expense of each other. Him becoming a father did not make him less of a husband, and him being a husband did not make him less of a father. It is, of course, possible for him also to be a father and not a husband, and also possible for him to be a husband and not a father. And this simple analogy, I think, can help just scratch the surface in understanding how Jesus can be both fully God and fully human. He is not half God and half human. Jesus becoming human did not make him any less God, though it did change his nature. But what makes this significant? Why is it so important for Christians around the world? Well, when we look at Genesis 1 and 2, right at the beginning of the Bible, we hear the story of creation, where God formed the heavens and the earth into being. And we hear of a place on earth where humans live alongside God, and then that heaven and earth are not two completely separate entities, but cross over and interlink. Through human rebellion, this close link became severed, not by God's actions or decisions, but by us wandering away from God and getting things wrong. Jesus' coming, as described in 1 John, signals the start of a new era. No longer do heaven and earth feel so distant from each other, as in the person of Jesus Christ, the two came together. And the gap that was created as the result of humans' fall is knitted back in the person of Jesus. We heard in the passage that the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. The Word, God, through the incarnation, which is the word Christians use to describe this, became flesh, became human, became in many ways like us. But I think it's also important for another reason, not only in what Jesus did, but in who he became. Jesus' fully human nature meant that he not only suffered for us, but he suffers with us. It can be difficult sometimes, I think, when we try and imagine God, because God is so beyond all comprehension, that in all the things which we go through in life, whether really God can relate to us. But we know from John's Gospel, as well as in other parts of the Bible, that Jesus experienced pain, experienced grief over those who died. He knew what it was to learn to be angry, frustrated, go hungry, thirsty, do without limitless financial resources, get tired and need a rest, and work in a regular job alongside others. I'm going to end this talk now with by looking at a piece of artwork called the Eisenheim altarpiece. I'll just put it up on the screen. When we think about images of Jesus on the cross, I don't know about you, but sometimes for me, a lot of images I see depicting this shows Jesus looking quite pure and radiant, drawing out beauty from a moment of despair, pain, and death. This altarpiece, however, shows a very different looking Jesus, and it was on display in a monastery in France during the medieval period. This was a monastery that cared specifically for people with incurable skin diseases. This would have been, for some, the first and the last images that patients would have gazed upon when arriving to the monastery to be cared for. And I would invite you to reflect on what sort of Jesus you think that they would have seen. Not, I think, a Jesus with a pure and perfect body, but Jesus, God, suffering with them in a body full of the signs of skin diseases, which they themselves would have had. The message of this artwork and the message of Jesus being with us, fully God and fully human, is that God not only suffered for us on the cross, but suffers alongside us in our pains. Amen.
The splendor of the King, clothed in majesty, let all the earth rejoice, all the earth rejoice. He wraps himself in light, and darkness tries to hide, and trembles at his voice, trembles at his voice. How great is our God? Sing with me, how great is our God? And all will see how great is our God. Age to age he stands, and time is in Lion and the Lamb, the Lion and the Lamb. How great is our God? Sing with me, how great is our God, and all will see how great is our God. How great is our God? Sing with me, how great is our God, and all will see how great is our God. Name above all names, worthy of all praise. My heart will sing, how great is our God. You're the name above all names. You are worthy of all praise. And my heart will sing, how great is our God. How great is our God? Sing with me, how great is our God, and all will see how great is our God.